Oh, hello there. So, welcome back to Phil Talking D20. Sorry for the hiatus on videos. Life has been busy. So it's been hard to kind of keep up the kind of the regular flow of content. Plus, I've started running a campaign recently, so I've actually been kind of concentrating a lot on kind of prepping and sorting stuff for that. And with work and everything that's going on in the world, it can be tricky finding some spare time to do a video. But today's video is a follow-up to a video I've just watched that came out, I think, today, as of filming this, by Shadiversity. Lovely channel, great channel, love it, great fun. Definitely go check it out. Link to the video will be in the description below. So if you're not familiar with the topic and or the channel, obviously jump in, have a watch. Quick gist on it. He talks about the ability to use a two-handed weapon and use a shield at the same time. And the long and the short of it is he kind of demonstrates techniques that kind of show that it was possibly, credibly sourced using medieval art as a reference to examples of people clearly using two-handed weapons whilst having a shield deployed. He talks a bit and demonstrates with weapons and shields that he owns, how it could be kind of utilised, and then stipulates that it's a thing and maybe we should consider it for our games. And so this is my kind of take on that and why it could be a fun thing to throw into a game as just an extra bit of customization should you want it. And ways of we can apply it and balance it and think about it from a rules perspective. So you're not just giving more advantages to players, you're making it kind of a bit more credible. So the first thing he talks about is the fact that shields have straps on them so that you can stow it on your back. And that is an integral part of the shield staying in place, hanging from the strap across the shoulder down the side of the body, whilst the hands are free and not holding it. So again, from a perspective of, I suppose, if you want to get really nerdy about rules, and this also touches on an item that I have toyed with in the past, it's item straps. And effectively, the gist of them are that if you have essentially, if you imagine simply a reasonably long bit of leather cord, like a thin belt, if you imagine, and you buckle it around your arm and then you tie it to the hilt of a sword, as long as there's enough give in it for you to be able to have your full range of motion with that weapon. If you're using house rules where you do things like disarming a lot or having fumbles where you might drop a weapon or throw a weapon away, and also for those situations where maybe something, knocks you unconscious and technically your hands go limp, and when you fall unconscious you would typically drop items and they may scatter away from you, it means that it's tethered to you. And from that perspective, you could do it within reason to most items, and obviously those would apply to a shield strap so that you could carry it easily. There's an argument to say that if you buy a shield, it probably has one and you've never thought about it and it's never come up and it's never been an issue, and you've never thought about how your character is carrying the shield because it's not that important. So it could be that for all this time we've all been gaming, all our shields have already had straps on them and we've never paid attention because it's imaginary and we didn't care. So there you go. But if you want to add these kind of item straps into your game, very simple. I, for balance purposes, took sheath as the kind of the useful implement for holding items, namely weapons. Costs 1 copper piece. So just have one item strap cost 1 copper piece. If you want to get really nerdy, yes, it's an action to attach it to a weapon and armor, but you're only ever going to do that once. And that's not going to be in combat unless something's gone horribly wrong. So it's not that important. But ipso facto, there you go. So you could take that, apply it to a shield, put it on your body, and then in that situation where you want to have it sat on the side of your body so that it is providing somewhat passive protection, is probably the best way to describe it, because you can't actively move it with your arm as you would normally. You would just simply use an action to set the shield, and then it's the case of your reaction to shield block. Instead of it being your arm, it's your body. What I would then stipulate is I would personally probably put a -1 on attack rolls with weapons, or maybe even the reference the shield's armor class bonus as the penalty. So obviously, when we're looking at shields, you've got +1, you've got +2, and then you've got tower shields, I do believe, still. So let's have a quick look. Yeah, tower shield, +2, +4. So if you take the shield bonus from the base, don't start adding penalties for magic, just the base property bonus, and make that the penalty on attack rolls because of it getting in the way and being more cumbersome. But obviously the offset of that being that you've got the armor class bonus active for in lieu of that penalty you're taking, and also still got the ability, if you've got the feat, to shield block by physically moving your body in the way. And again, I think from another perspective of balance, I would probably look at either maybe adding a feat to the shield tree, or, and this is the one I prefer, I would probably stipulate that you would have to be an expert in armor, or maybe in the weapons that the character's using, to represent going from trained being I'm competent in the basics to expert, where you're getting into advanced techniques and you can do stuff like that that's slightly out of the norm. And I think that's probably the better balance mechanic. So you could either look at weaponry and say that it's a weapon fighting technique, or you could look at armor and say, okay, if they get an expert proficiency with armor, they can do it. So again, that's another kind of point of context for perhaps if you're not keen on everyone just immediately going and buying a tower shield. Bear in mind they have to be able to carry the bulk, and you know that is a thing to kind of focus on as a mechanic that's already in the game. Don't just assume that everyone's going to go out and buy a great axe and buy a +2 heavy steel shield, because not every character is going to be able to carry that bulk. So a lot of people won't simply be able to just do it because they want to. And again, that -2, if they're using that big kind of +2 shield, that -2 is a penalty. You know, they're taking a negative. You know, that they're losing out on flat-footed bonuses. If someone becomes flat-footed, for them, they're just getting back to their normal AC. So that's already quite, you know, well, it's already set in terms of, it's almost like fighting defensively in the way that you take those penalties and attack rolls but get bonuses to AC. This is, I suppose, in real terms, a way of quite interestingly demonstrating what that might technique actually represent. So again, think about it. It's not OP, it's not broken, it's not nonsense, it's not silly. Shad's video really demonstrates that there is artwork that supports it and that as a technique it is viable. But again, if you do want to try and put limits or controls on it, think about maybe an extra shield feat called set shield, and you have to have obviously shield block as a prereq, but it's just the next feat down. And that would probably be all I'd do. Maybe put strength 14 on it. And that's probably the fairest way, making it a general feat, because then it's quickly accessible, but still a little bit behind a paywall, and still having the caveat of the penalty from maybe the shield bonus being applied on the attack roll as a negative to represent it being a bit cumbersome, because it is more cumbersome than not doing, setting a shield on your body and fighting with it, a two-handed weapon with your full range of arm motion, or properly being able to maneuver a shield with one arm whilst a one-handed weapon is also getting its kind of range of motion, because the two move in unison. So it's cool. It's definitely well worth a watch. Shad's video will be in the link below. Drop me a like, drop me a sub. More content will be coming at some point in the not too distant future, so my apologies for my long hiatus. And hopefully that's given you a cool idea for little things you can do in your game to make them a bit funky and unique. And that is my view and my take on how I would probably apply it at the table. Like I said, you've got the two paths you could go with, maybe looking at weaponry, or maybe looking at armor, or simply using it as an extra feat in a feat tree. I'm going to sign off. Peace out, stay safe, stay well, and I'll see you all soon.